Aloha and welcome. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the standard library. And it's one of those rare occasions where instead of sharing my screen with VS Code, I'm going to be sharing my screen and showing you the zyBook itself, because I want to go through some specific things here. So looking here, the Python standard library has a number of modules that are extremely useful, things that you're going to be using all the time. And because you're going to use them all the time, they've made this functionality available in several different modules. And I want to review a couple of them. When I look at these, most of these I've used in some form or fashion. We've got date time, and that's good when you're doing calculations with dates. If you're trying to do math, like calculate, for example, what was 3 days ago, you're going to be getting today's date and subtracting time and things like that. So date time helps a lot with things like that. Random is great. We've shown you examples of working with random numbers in the past. They're not really truly random, they're pseudo-random, but as close as we can get to finding a random number. But this is going to help you generate random numbers between any two numbers that you choose. And then there's copy modules that help you make complete copies of objects, not just shallow copies. There's time functions for doing just the time side of things. Also allows you to sleep things for a certain number of seconds. That's very useful. If you're into math, there's all kinds of mathematical functions in here as well. We've got OS when you want to do operating system type calls. OS is another thing that you often use. OS path is something I find myself using a lot when I'm trying to create file names with their directory path in front of it. os.path, I believe it is, something I use quite a lot. Sys, we've already seen examples of sys in the past. You can use this also to make system calls. Like if you want to call some other process or something, you can make a call to that and have the results returned to you. It's really convenient. But sys is a massive library. It's really good. PDB, the Python interactive debugger, is something that's helpful to use as well. urlib is another one. If you're doing anything that requires pulling data from other web pages, you're going to be using this. If you ever do things like web scraping, you're going to find yourself in the urlib a lot too. So those are really convenient. If you go through the zyBooks, it's going to show you examples of how to use these things. I don't want to show you specifically how you're going to be using these, but what I want to point out is how to use them in general. So you would do something like for the standard library, you'd say import date time. And after you've done that, then you're going to be accessing things through that dot notation that we talked about. So you see here, we're using date time, and then we're going to go to the date module, and then we're going to grab the today method. So that's one way we use that. And then you can also use the time delta, which gives you the difference of dates. So you can go date time, which is your package name again, time delta, and then you can specify your parameters of that. So this is the way you use it. You import it, and then you use dot notation to get to the different modules and functionality that you want. So the same with random. You import random, then you have random.shuffle with the deck, and that's going to be these things here. And then random.choice, you're going to be grabbing a choice from there. But there's this is again, you import the standard library. Then after you've imported it, you access it through dot notation to get to the methodologies, to the methods that you want to use. So that is essentially using the standard library. One other thing that I didn't see listed up here, but they do have things for, it does mention it, SQLite 3. So one of the cool things that you can do is you can save your information into databases and stuff like that. And you will, there are libraries for doing that too. There are libraries and, packages for doing all kinds of stuff. So if you want to save things into a database, there's packages for that. If you want to be opening up CSV files, there's packages for that. If you want to save to Excel documents or Word documents, there's packages for that. There's That's the great thing about Python. There's all these packages that extend the functionality that you have, and it makes doing things so neat and so easy. And that's why Python is a language, it's kind of like a Swiss knife in a way, because you've got all these things that you can do. And there are people that have been using it for so long that have made their own libraries of all kinds of useful functionality. You've got your mathematics. One thing I remember, I went to a class that was being offered on locating celestial objects using astrophysics libraries that they have, and that just blew my mind. But there's there's a library for just about anything out there, so that's what makes Python so nice and easy to use. It really, like I said, makes it into that Swiss knife of all programming languages. And you'll see that there's a lot of people out there that like to use it because of all this functionality. They like to use Python to solve their problems, automating things. There's a book actually called Automate the Boring Stuff, and it teaches you how to use a lot of different libraries to get this functionality that you can do things that's just really kind of neat. And yeah, if you have the time, check that book out. But yeah, these libraries and the ability to import packages and modules makes Python very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? It makes it very versatile. So I'll just leave it at that. That's pretty much the end of this chapter, and we'll be moving on into chapter on files next. So I look forward to seeing you there. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out and send me an email. Set up a Zoom meeting if you like, and we can go over things one-on-one. But other than that, I will see you in the next lesson. Aloha.